I'm going to be taking a look at this issue of Moves magazine. It's Moves number 84, which is November and December of 1995. And as shown on the cover again, this is taking a look at a couple of S&T titles, number 169 and 170, which were both U.S. Civil War battles. They're called the Atlanta Campaign. I think the games are called Battles for Atlanta. And this is basically an article by Timothy Cutter. And he plays all four games, which includes an introduction for each game, a strategy on both sides, and then, side A, turn one, side B, turn one, and then little paragraph or two on each turn by each side, so that you get the whole course of the game. So the first one deals with Ezra Church, and you get a picture of the map there, and it has dots showing where the units are, so the counters aren't shown on the map in these pictures, but this is a very simple game system. And then they have a second article on Peachtree Creek, which I believe was also in issue 169. And then I believe they have Jonesboro, and then another article on the Battle for Atlanta. I think Atlanta, yes. So, these are all like 7 or 8 turn scenarios. It's very simple. They have just generic map pictures from the game, but no pieces. They have the combat results table on here. You can reference that when you're reading the article. So there's a lot of coverage here. It really goes through the games quite well. I mean, to the point where I probably would just read the articles rather than play the games. I have played all of these games before, and my personal take on these is not very good. I think that the games really are not great. They're designed by Rob Markham, and I like some of his designs. I think putting it in the magazine format really stripped them down, and I just didn't get enough detail out of them. But I do have them in my collection. They do cover some unique areas, although these are the type of thing I'd like to retrofit into like Civil War Brigade series or something. So that's about 20 pages of this magazine on those 2 S&T issues. Then there's an article by Major Wilbur Gray, and I believe he's this fellow in the middle, if I remember. And this is called War Games and the Lead Connection. And it's basically an article about miniatures. And I don't play miniatures. I'm not even remotely interested in playing miniatures. But what he does is shows how an innovative person might try to take some of these games like Wooden Ships and Iron Men, or SPQR, Blood and Iron, Cropperty Bridge, Royalists and Roundheads, and systems like that, and to be able to convert them into miniatures games. So because there's a lot of you don't really have to redesign a whole game, but you can take these scenarios and kind of convert them with existing systems. So I find that concept interesting, but I don't find it interesting for me with miniatures. But if you're interested in miniatures, it's kind of a cool article. Then there's an article by Joe Miranda on the 30 Years' War, and this is talking about issue 173 of Strategy and Tactics. And this was an area map covering the 30 Years' War in a very simplified system. I played it a long time ago. I actually don't have this issue anymore. I sold it years ago. If I play 30 Years' War, it's going to be with GMT Games, card-driven game 30 Years' War. I think I'd have a lot more fun with that. So just a thought on that. But there's a fairly long article here where he describes, his thoughts behind the 30 Years' War and various strategies that you might want to use as a player. Also, it has errata and clarifications. So that's another chunky article. Then there's some short ones. There's an article by James Meldrum, Options for Saipan. And so that was one of the two games in S&T number 162. The other one was Clontarf, an Ireland medieval game. But this provides some tweaks to kind of change up the game a little bit, but it's not earth-shaking. I mean, it's like fewer troops or less air power and things like that. Very generalized. He also has another article, again, James Meldrum, Red Star, White Star. And this takes the Battle for Germany game by Decision Games, which is also in S&T number 50, and takes this and turns it into like, what if after World War II ended, it went immediately into, the East and the West fighting in Europe. So there are a number of little tweaks to turn the game into a Cold War game, hot game of the Cold War. Then David McElhannon wrote an article here called Starship Idiots, and it's addendum for Starship Troopers. If you have that game, it's an Avalon Hill game, based on the sci-fi books. But you can this opens up more personality into some of the characters in the game, like rolling up a cowardly squad, a gung-ho squad, an escapee squad, a berserker squad, and normal squads and things like that. So it's a mild addendum to the game. If you have the game, you might give the article a look. It's a one-page article. Then there is von Schleifen at Sedan. So this is another variant by James Meldrum, and he's talking about S&T 149, the Franco-Prussian War. But basically, he postulates that, that by 1906, the von Schleifen plan was in place on what would be used in a war between France and Germany. And so he presents a what if the Schleifen plan was used during the Franco-Prussian War. So it's kind of an interesting concept to think about, but I'm probably not going to play that game. But James Meldrum was always good for generating all types of variants. He has another one, the Next Arab-Israeli War, and this is for use, I believe, with Operation Shock Troop from S&T 168. And this just carries forward some other scenarios. For example, Israeli preemptive strikes, a scenario called Jihad, Scenario 3, Gulf War 1991, and a scenario, Soviets in the Middle East. So he's got some a setup chart for some ideas for that scenario. And that's pretty much what you get. And then the last scenario is called Peace Talks Collapse Syria Attacks. And so there you have it. This is issue number 84 of Moves Magazine. There's a lot of content in here, depending on what your interest is. So I hope you enjoyed this look through memory lane here. And if you have any comments on any of these articles or these older Decision games, please leave that in the comments below, and I hope you have a great day.